North Charleston neighborhood, Northwood Estates, has been fighting for a sound barrier along I-26 for a decade. And one of those people fighting for a sound barrier has been North Charleston City Councilwoman Virginia Jamison. I talked one-on-one with the City Councilwoman for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Councilwoman Virginia Jamison, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you, Quintin. You're always so inviting, always inclusive, and I do appreciate you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Let me pick up on the interview that we were doing right in the same location a year ago. You told me, hey, you're fighting hard for your particular district to get a sound barrier. And you've been doing it now for 10 years. From 10 years ago to right now, where is your energy?
Quintin, my energy level has not diminished. I am involved, I am engaged. Every day I'm online trying to find different modalities that would fit us in that corridor of noise, I-26 east and westbound. So again, I am doing everything. I have spoken with SCDOT, I have spoken with the Federal Highway Administration, I have spoken with everybody. And they know where we live, they know who we are, and they know that Virginia Jamison is not going to go away.
Let me pick up there. What does the Department of Transportation and the Federal Highway of Transportation folks consider feasible and reasonable noise sources when it comes to the corridor of noise?
Well, that has changed over the years. Back in 1995, I think it was, when they did the original barrier there.
Sure.
It's called a Jersey barrier in the middle of the highway. They had one set of criterias, and the only reason we did not meet that criteria in 1995 because the cost was too much, and that's where they come up with feasible and reasonable. So that cost has remained the same. That number, $30,000 per home,
right,
has remained the same over all of these years, and we know that that does not even fit into the equation today. And so we have asked them to go back and look at the numbers. We have asked them to look at different modalities, the surfacing material that they use. We have asked them, the group that I work with has asked me to ask them for so many different things that's being tested,
right,
throughout the United States and in foreign countries. So I think we need to kind of come back to the drawing board and look at all of these things. Most recently, I'll tell you that we have gotten some positive feedback. Again, they are going to resurface, and I don't want to say this prematurely, but they are planning to resurface the I-26 corridor all the way up to Nexton.
right.
So that's a positive. But as we open that Hugh Leatherman terminal this month,
Right.
I think that the planning was not there, because you're going to add transporters, heavier transporters, to that highway that has not been upgraded at all in the last 10 years, I would say. So again, we have faith. We're inundated with noise. The decibel exceeds 9, and it should be at 5. So we feel confident that eventually we will get what we need to live our American dream in our affordable homes.
What is the typical surface around the corridor of noise?
The surfacing of the road?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, the surfacing of the road, and again, it hadn't been resurfaced in a lot of years, so maybe that upgrading of new materials, looking at different modalities from different areas would be a plus. But and maybe we could use some other, like, and they're called curtains, and they use them in industrial areas to separate the noise from communities. So there are a lot of things that we could have done going forward with all of the new focus on infrastructure and all of the new livability piece that I'm hearing the federal government speak about, I think that we're going to get some traction. I really do. And with Pete Buttigieg at the head of the Department of Transportation, I know that he is a caring person, and he is going to be looking at these corridors and the livability in this overpopulated roadways.
What new materials would be ideal for your area?
Well, right now, as I said, and I don't want to be premature, they are looking at a resurfacing material, and they're going to take, and I want to be correct on this, they're going to take a big portion of the asphalt that's already there out and add this new material. It quiets, I guess it's the tire hitting the surface,
right,
and it quiets that down. So you could imagine an 18-wheeler that has, whatever weight on it, this would be a plus. I wish that I had brought the substance that is being used, but it's something about diamond cut material.
Right.
It's not diamonds. It's not diamonds that you wear, but it's a material that they have tested. As a matter of fact, they even did this testing in the Myrtle Beach area.
Right.
So I have spoken with Mr. Tim Henderson on email, and I left a voicemail for him, directing him to that Myrtle Beach study, and hopefully we'll get a lot of play on this thing.
Have you researched any traffic management measures?
Traffic management
measures.
Well, since I'm not a traffic engineer, I had hoped that the Department of DOT would have done that.
Okay.
We have read a lot of data. I could not tell you the extent that one of my colleagues go to in identifying modalities that would rectify the situation. So we have looked at a lot of data, a lot of numbers, a lot of best practices over the course of these 10 years.
Let me ask you this. Are there any buffer zones near the interstate?
Buffer zones, meaning?
Near the interstate where this noise is coming from?
No, sir.
Okay.
If we had that buffer, and we found out that vegetation can be a buffer, but it has to be like a cluster, and it has to be clumped so close together.
Right.
And so we do not have that. I think you would remember that a couple of years ago that SCDOT decided that they were going to take out a lot of the trees along that corridor that left us wide open. Where my home is, there is a Dominion Power Tower, and it's above ground. It goes all the way over across Rivers Avenue. So there's limited things that we could have done there. But these are ongoing projects and problems that these engineers have to get involved and do the research. I mean, if SCDOT would like to hire me at an astronomical cost, I would certainly join in to help them identify some of the things that we can be doing. But I have told, sent emails. I have a 10-year summary of everything, every point of contact. If your name is not on that list, please let me know and I will add your name to it if you need to be a point of contact. But, Quintin, I don't even know where the energy level comes from, but it's my love for people, my love for fair. We, as a society, have gotten away from right and wrong. I wrote this letter to the editor. But if we are fair, if we think about what is fair, if young men and women would think right now, start that process of thinking about what is fair, our society would turn itself around.
Now, over the past 10 years, what has the decibel been throughout the corridor of noise?
The decibel back in 1995 was approximately 6 to 7 at any given, which exceeds the
Right.
FHA guidelines.
Sure.
The decibel noise today can be a 10. It could be even more at certain times of the day. It used to be that at 7 o'clock in the morning until about 9 o'clock in the morning, that traffic would be up and down. But right now, that window has stretched from 6 o'clock in the morning until almost 11 o'clock in the morning. That traffic is at its peak. The same thing in the evening. It used to be from 5 to about 7 that the traffic would be down. But now starting at 3 to about 7, 8 o'clock at night, that traffic is still going. And the traffic is very, very, they're speeding every day. So now the trucker
Right.
who is speeding on this overcrowded highway is having to use something called JAKE, J-A-K-E brakes. And again, these brakes are only supposed to be used in an emergency situation to fastly slow that
Right.
big old truck down. So these are things that we have brought to the attention of SCDOT. These are things that I have personally sent messages to our representatives in our corridor, and people are starting to get on board.
Is Mayor Summy on board?
When I first came onto council in 2016, I did personally speak with the mayor, and he did give me a letter saying that he would follow Charleston County's lead.
Okay.
I still have that letter. I do hold people to the letter of the law, and whatever the city can do at the cost that they're talking about for the barrier wall.
Oh, yeah.
I have already done a calculation. If this barrier wall costs $12 million, if North Charleston can chip in $2 to $3 million, if county can chip in another $4 to $5 million, then that cost would be astronomically reduced. So, I'm waiting. I know something is going to happen, and it is going to be positive for that corridor.
Would you ask for alternation or alteration of horizontal and vertical alignments?
I would ask for anything that would reduce that noise. And what people are not realizing is that if we did the resurfacing with the new noise reducing materials,
Oh, yeah.
and if we put up they're saying you have to go up so high, I think it's 12 feet, but if we can reduce that footage to 6 foot, then that would be a cost saving, and it would certainly be a life-saving practice or best practice for our communities.
And how would you approach the federal and state governments about quieter rumble strips for that part of the interstate?
I am hoping that their engineers would have stepped into this and just doing. And I don't think it would take a lot of time because they have all of these avenues at their disposal. They can just click on whatever and see what is needed. So why have they not done any research on this? It is our problem as a community and our livability. But really and truly, SCDOT has dropped the ball on this.
If a noise barrier produces the 10 decibel reduction it is intended and designed for, Councilwoman, will the noise still be loud enough to interfere with your sleeping and conversations?
No, it will not.
Okay.
I'll tell you that in talking to my neighbors,
Sure.
and several of them have gone ahead with that. You asked me this the other day, but several of them has gone ahead with replacing the windows in their homes. And laughingly, one person said, well, now that I've replaced the windows, I never heard my refrigerator running before, but now I can hear it. So think about this.
Yes, ma'am.
Why can't the federal government pay to have our homes upgraded? The Environmental Protection Agency probably would join right into this. And if not that, some of us has done the home upgrade.
Right.
But what about our backyard? What about when I go out there to rake,
Right.
to water, to just enjoy the ambience of having a backyard?
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing takes the place of that, Quintin. We're entitled to that. This is a prime example of peace and comfort that comes with quiet, relaxing time. And I want to tell you one other thing. We have laughingly somebody said to me the other day, Virginia, we have the corridor of people aging in place. And I got to tell you that the Northwoods district, the Northwoods community has been there for over 50 years. And there are a lot of people who are aging in place. Now, their young people are coming back to their family homes.
Sure.
They're bringing their babies.
Sure.
They're wanting to walk.
Right.
They're wanting to do so many things that enhance your quality of life. So we should be assisted with a great quality of life.
Let me turn over to some developing news, that is. As you know, the city of North Charleston and the police department, as you know, are conducting a racial bias audit. Let me ask you this, Councilwoman. How objective can CNA be when the company is overwhelmingly Caucasian?
Well, I didn't know the diversity of the company, but I do know that they have interacted with the city of Charleston,
Right.
and they do have a good history throughout the country. I hope that it's not the color of the man, but the heart of the man that would help them to do the job that we're going to pay them to do. And again, that's what I'm hoping and praying for. And I think if the citizens come to this table in earnest and in truth, that it will be a win-win situation for our citizens and our police department. But Quintin, I just need to say this, is that again, any job that you do, it's what you put into that job. If you come with a degree of, I don't care about anybody else, all I want to do is get paid and go home, then it does not work in policing, it does not work in healthcare, and it does not work in the political arena. Those are just 3 instances where that attitude does not work. So I hope that as we go forward, that as we bring the police department into the technical setting of Trident Tech and the different technical schools around the state, that the heart of the man and women who are aspiring to be police officers will be touched. The other thing, Quintin, physical fitness is such an important part of being anything. And I'll tell you the reason I really know that it builds your character, it builds your caring factor for other people, because when you're physically fit, you exude that physical fitness. When you're comfortable in your own skin,
Sure.
then you exude that. We've seen things happen throughout the country. We saw everything that is going on right now. We saw what happened in my city of my birth, where I live.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Should not have happened. The other thing is mental fitness. Because we take on so much in our life, in our daily activities. Are you mentally fit? Can you categorize it or put your life in that box that you could take that part of your life out and still function on a day-to-day basis? So I hope that CNA will look at all of these factors and encourage mental support for our police officers, physical fitness for our police officers, get them out of the cars, walking the beat, getting to know the people that they serve.
Let me ask you this. Do you believe parity hiring based on the demographics is good for the city of North Charleston?
Well, when you speak about parity, are you speaking about racial makeup, or are you speaking about dollars? Dollars.
You can talk both. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I think that you know that because a lot of people are aspiring to doing wrong things at an early age in their life, some of them don't make the grade. And I'm seeing this in the black community, and I will speak with the black community because I have raised black children. So I don't see that same dynamics. I don't see that. I want to graduate from high school. I want to go to the Army. I want to go to college. I want to do apprenticeship with this company or whatever. I'm not seeing that happen anymore. So before that 18-year-old young man or woman can get to that job, they've already created so many bad situations for themselves that sometimes is not forgiven by that company's resource officer. You've got to pass a background check. You've got to do that drug test, sir. And now they're even looking at your credit report.
Right.
So a lot of things don't really equate anymore, but we've got to get back to training people for the workforce. We've got to refocus on education. When I grew up in North Charleston on Liberty Hill,
Right.
that's all they talked about, education,
Right.
education, education.
Right.
And little girl, you better get your behind where you need to be when you need to be there. Responsibility. Those are things that I was taught at a very young age, and I would like to see us get back there.
With a city of 50% African American and less than 25% of the police force being obviously black, why haven't that not changed as far as demographics and hiring?
Well, I'll tell you that I speak with Chief Burgess frequently. He has gone to every entity. He goes to the high school, he goes to the technical school, he goes to college campuses, trying to recruit African Americans. I mean, recruit everybody, but focusing on that disparity in our communities. So what I'm saying is that if we're doing everything we can do, then what are our communities doing to empower our young people to get the job? I don't think it ever comes up that you didn't get the job because you're black. You didn't get the job because you want a higher salary. You probably didn't get that job because you couldn't pass the background check, couldn't pass the physical fitness. And a lot of people don't even realize it doesn't matter whether you smoke marijuana, it doesn't matter that you do whatever you do, but even if you're not doing it, just that contact
Right.
will stay with you. And you don't know what day they're going to do a random drug test.
Sure.
Because I'm privileged to this information, sir, because I served in the United States Army and the United States Air Force. And let me tell you, any day that I drove through the Charleston Air Force Base gate, they're going to do a 100% ID check,
Right.
and they can pull me over and say, ma'am, we need to do a random drug test on you. So are we teaching our children the things that we need to do to get to the next level? Again, I will say this about Chief Burgess. He has walked and talked and acted to encourage young men and women to take the gauntlet of our society and move forward.
Let me ask you this. The police department is the largest by employee department in the city of North Charleston and has one of the largest budgets, I believe. Have the police department put more money in the African American community and hire more blacks in order to achieve that parity?
Well, I'm not really sure about that because, as you know, we have a form of government that says strong mayor and council. And as it was told to me, that the mayor is the CEO and he is the administrator.
Sure.
I see the budget on paper. And we're going to be coming up for, our budget summit this month.
Right.
We see that budget on paper. We know that a lot of good things do happen. But as far as African American community or Hispanic community, it's not broken down like that. It is just overall what happens. I guess a forensic audit would show us how it's broken down. I guess if we were really being transparent, that breakdown should occur. But again, I'm not privy to that information.
Councilwoman Virginia Jamison, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Mr. Washington, it's always a pleasure to sit and talk with you. We have so much in common. I'm really pushing because I think you need to step out there and be that voice for communities, for government, and for agencies that maybe don't get that send-off or support. And again, thank you so very much for everything that you do.
Oh, you're very welcome. Anytime.